everyone, this is just a preface to this video. It's now Sunday. I will be showing some footage of Saturday's meals and also some of Sunday's meals as well. See you later. I will be talking some more towards the end of the video about fitness. Hello everyone, it is Saturday. I am just going to share with you my protein porridge here. It's chocolate super grain protein porridge from the Protein Works. Got some chocolate penguins, some coconut and goji berry protein balls, mini jazzies and a galaxy ripple bar from my Easter egg from Hannah. This is Muscle Foods protein pancakes with a Graze.com brownie, some minstrels and some frozen kiwi, as well as some choc shop. And yes, kiwi and chocolate goes well. Don't knock it till you try it. Here's my mince and rice meal prep. It did overflow in the microwave, but it was nice and convenient after my chess session on Saturday. I'm going to go and do a biology paper now. I have to do it all in one go, so I'm just having a sort of quick snack. It's Sunday morning, by the way. I've got some beef jerky, carrot, and just salad, and I'll eat this up and then I'll come back in a couple of hours' time. And after my biology mock, I've got some protein oats with a white chocolate carb killer and Graze.com's new raspberry and white chocolate punnet, which has got almonds, hazelnuts, white chocolate buttons, and some raspberry little swirly things. I actually had recorded some stuff yesterday. It's Sunday now. I had recorded a vlog in particular with me speaking face to face, but to cut a long and annoying story short, basically I lost that file and wasn't able to use it. But it's actually been a learning experience, multiple ways actually. I have been quite stressed today. Earlier on I found myself eating not very mindfully at all. Although in terms of quantity I wouldn't really call it a binge compared to stuff in the past. It definitely was more than I should have had, and it wasn't thinking straight and it wasn't enjoyable, and it was just quite simply me trying to act as an escape, I suppose. I was trying to escape from those feelings that I wasn't ready to confront just then. And it's been a multitude of things. It's been a lot of exam stress, to be honest. I did a biology exam paper this morning that was 2 hours. I was actually asked as well how I manage going to the gym with revising. I would say perhaps more it's how I manage with revising in terms of my life as a whole, because I see going to the gym as one of my favourite hobbies. So it's more not stressing out in terms of everything, like the wider picture of my life in terms of the revision I do. I spend a lot of time commuting, but because I don't drive, I do get some revision done in the car sometimes, so that's quite a good use of my time when there's nothing really much else to be doing. In terms of my other revision, I mean obviously I do a little bit at weekends, but at school I try to maximise my time in my free periods. I mean I do 4 subjects at A level, but I just try to make sure that if I've got free and I've got work to be doing, that I actually do it instead of just sitting in the study room and joking around with my friends, which although that's fun and sometimes I do need that break, for these last few weeks really, because there's not long left now, I just sort of focus on getting some work done. I'm quite lucky in that I managed to revise things just by looking at them, reading through them, because obviously when I'm reading through I don't just sort of highlight everything. I make sure I'm thinking about it and I might add a few annotations and stuff like that. I'm a true believer in that if you truly understand something as well, once you get in the exam, even if you don't quite remember the specifics when you're in the exam, if you understand it and think it through, then it will come back to you. So yeah, obviously I am feeling the pressure and I am quite stressed, to be honest, about my A-levels, but I know that in a couple of months' time, they'll be done. Like literally in 2 months' time, I'll be on the final leg of my exams, literally with only a few to go. So how I balance that with gym time? Well, I go to the gym 4 or 5 times a week. One of those times is at a gym near my school, so I quite literally walk there straight after school with my friend. And then what I can do is on the way home, I can revise in the car. and also make sure on that day that I've done my work at school and stuff like that. Personally, I don't think there's anything quite like sweating it out, to be honest. Although, to be fair, I am feeling quite physically run down, and so I might be pushing it too much. It's definitely a balancing act. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if I have to cut down my gym time by at least a day, particularly while I'm actually doing my exams. In terms of getting into the gym in the first place, this is actually the clip I'd already recorded, but I suppose having thought about it a bit more, I can talk about it better. I'm going to talk about my fitness journey as a whole. I actually started going to the gym right when GCSEs started, so that's where it actually was an amazing stress relief for me. I did 11 GCSEs, so obviously that's a lot of subjects to be doing, and especially as a lot of the subjects I was doing then I didn't even like, whereas obviously at A-levels I picked the subjects I wanted to do and I really enjoy them. By the way, if you want to hear more about my specifics and my education stuff, I did a vlog a few days ago where I talked about my education and my aspirations for the future. Before I started going to the gym a couple of times a week during my GCSE period, I'd actually been doing blog Pilates at home. That's a Pilates sort of workout plan that was free at home that I've been doing for about a year. And to be honest, I've been doing that at home for the most part. A, because I was too young to join a gym, because until I was 16 I couldn't join one and lift weights. But also because whenever anyone saw me exercising, I would have panic attacks. I honestly think that has its roots in when I used to over-exercise, when I was really, really mentally sort of in the restriction end of it. I'd always do it in secret, so if anybody saw me, I would always deny it, and obviously I'd really be anxious that I'd get caught while I was doing it, because I suppose part of me knew that I shouldn't be doing it at all. But yeah, even my family seeing me exercising used to send me into some quite serious panic attacks, so being able to go to a public gym as often as I do now is actually a real mental step that I've managed to make. Now I've moved on from the mindset side of it, what I did practically at the gym, because although I started out doing a lot of bodyweight movements and kind of that plyometric cardio stuff that you see in the likes of blog Pilates, and also things like BBG, I think that's kind of similar, I'm not sure to be honest though. I started by learning the absolute basics with weights such as squats, deadlifts, bench press, overhead press. About a year later I started doing hip thrusts and stuff like that. But yeah, I quite literally walked up to a personal trainer, told them quite honestly I have no idea what I'm doing, please could you help me? And most personal trainers at most sort of public gyms are there also as fitness instructors. They will help you without immediately turning around and saying my personal training hours are X much per hour. They'll help you. So that's when I first started learning how to bench press, deadlift and everything. They're the compound moves that use more than one muscle group, and also they engage more than one joint. So you know, like when you're squatting, when you sit back, obviously your hips are sitting back and your knees are bending, and it's engaging your whole body. So it's not just your legs, even though it might seem like that. But trust me, when you start getting those weights up, you feel it in your whole body. So here we have a video of me doing some squats. It is a compound move. As you can see, I've got multiple joints bending simultaneously. My hips are sitting back, my knees are bending as a result of my hips moving, and of course my ankles are bending as well. I also have really tight core to keep my upper body straight, and this is slightly called higher bar because I've got it slightly sort of rolled up my traps rather than it being low bar, because I actually find I'm tighter in my upper body than my lower body. And you can also see that because of how low I can go without getting a butt wink, which is where the bottom of your spine, the lumbar spine, starts to bend over. If it does bend over, that suggests you're putting undue pressure on the bottom of your spine. And this is one reason why you need good form, because otherwise you will get injured. And here we have another example of a compound move. This time we've got the bench press. So of course we're bending at the elbows and the shoulders here, even though we don't seem to be using our whole body. I'm actually pushing through my glutes and my feet as well. But of course I've also got a bit more of a powerlifting arch now. This is developing more as I am getting into powerlifting. This does lower your range of motion somewhat, which means I'm actually pushing a slightly smaller distance than with a flatter back, But a powerlifting arch does give you quite a stable foundation from which to push as well, so you can increase those weights. But at first, I'd really just focus on making sure your elbows are going down and that you're actually using your chest rather than just trying to shift the most weight as possible, because otherwise you could get stuck like this and potentially not get the bar back up again. I think it's also really important to remember that as a beginner, you will progress doing pretty much any rep range and doing pretty much any movement, and you will especially progress if you're doing it right. It can be really, really tempting to want to slap the weight on as soon as possible, but honestly, spend that time just trying to get the form right. It took me an incredibly long time to get my deadlifts to a good state. I wouldn't say they're perfect now, but I would struggle so much, and it wasn't until I clicked that things like deadlifts were hip hinges, so it wasn't a case of bending sort of like at your hips or bending at your knees. It was a case of your hips moving causes the whole of your body to move. One thing I would say though is be careful with the kinds of advice and videos you watch online, because obviously it also depends on your individual biomechanics. If your legs are longer, or parts of your legs are longer, or your torso or something is a different length to the average person, your squat, your deadlift, and that kind of thing, they will look different to other people. When I first started going to the gym, my main goal was to build some muscle. Not a great deal, but I wanted to get stronger and just build some muscle. So obviously I followed the kind of typical 3 sets of 8 reps for most of my sets. I personally think this is great for beginners because it's not so high rep that you're burning out and not getting perhaps as heavy as you could go, but it's also not so low rep that you're not able to practice form. But obviously over time, the most important thing isn't some magical rep range or whatever, it's lifting more weight over time. So that means you could do more reps, but equally you could lift more weight, or you could do a combination of the two. So for example, 5 sets of 5 reps, that's 25 reps in total. 3 sets of 8 reps, that's 24 reps in total. So especially if you can do 5 reps consecutively at a higher weight versus 8 reps at a lower weight, 25 times a higher weight is definitely larger than 24 times a smaller weight. However, it also works the other way, so you might be able to do something for 3 reps, but if you can only do that for 5 sets of 3, so that's 15 reps in total, whereas you could do a lower weight for 30 reps. Obviously, 30 reps is twice as much volume as 15 reps, and if you've only cut the weight by 2.5 or 5 kilograms, you're definitely going to have increased your total volume by using the lower weight. So honestly, as a beginner, the most important thing I'd say is stick to one rep range for most of your exercises, whether that's 3x8, 5x5, or anything else. Just stick to one, and then you have somewhere to progress from and work from. Especially as a beginner, you're going to be able to increase the weights that you're using quite quickly because of noob gains and getting better at coordinating yourself. But over time, you'll need to work out exactly how much you've lifted per session. So I won't always use the same rep range per workout and between workouts. And I actually go by feel as well quite a lot. I don't strictly periodise or have a programme or anything like that. So if one day I feel like I can do sets of 12, I'll do sets of 12. That's obviously taken me quite a while to get to that kind of intuitive position. But I am getting more in tune with my body and it's working and I'm seeing results. In terms of accessory movements, I'd always advise doing those big compound lifts first, like squats, and then you can dedicate a bit more time to the more specific movements. Say you're doing leg day, you do squats first, and then I do my hip thrust second, but then you could progress on to perhaps more machine movements or movements such as split squats. These are more specific, and then you can grow increasingly specific towards the end of your workout. But one thing I will say is you don't have to do every single exercise in existence. You have your whole training career ahead of you, so don't worry if you think, oh, my anterior deltoid is lagging behind. Yes, it might be as a complete beginner, but if you focus on those big lifts, those big moves, over time you'll see where your actual weaknesses are, and you don't have to worry about the minutiae while you're just beginning. In terms of workout length, it depends on how long you're resting. When I first started, I actually used to time my rest breaks, but that got old really quickly. And again, I do more intuitive rest breaks now, but anywhere between 45 seconds to a minute, perhaps even a minute and a half. It depends actually how many reps you're doing per set. Generally, the idea is if you're doing a high rep, so that's 12 reps and above, you need shorter rest breaks, which in a way that sounds kind of counterintuitive, because you would think that more reps means you're exercising for longer as well, but it keeps the intensity quite high if you're keeping those rest breaks short. So if it's over 12 reps, I'd say only rest for about 30 seconds. If you're between 8 and 12, it's between 45 seconds and a minute should be sufficient. 4 to 8, I'd almost give it a minute and a half. And if you're going for 1 rep maxes, I'd have rest breaks of 2 minutes, perhaps even more. So obviously when you start adding rest breaks, that can also extend the time that you've spent working out. So as a beginner, if you want those short workouts, those intense workouts, sticking to a rep range like 3x8 is also quick. I started with 2 sessions per week, and then I went up to 3 sessions per week, and I did 3 sessions for about 6 to 8 months after I first started. And then I built up to 4 towards the end of that period. And then quite literally, it's only been in the last couple of months that I've had 4 or 5 sessions. I only have 5 if I'm able to train on a Monday with my friend at school. Otherwise, I just take it as an extra rest day. And rest days are really important because that's when your muscles get the time to adapt and grow. I mean, obviously, if you're starting a new exercise for the first time, you will feel that kind of burn. It's uncomfortable. But if it's not a sharp pain, then you're okay generally and you're good to go. It's better to be cautious, but then to maintain your progress rather than to go completely balls to the wall and end up getting injured very quickly, and then of course setting yourself back for a much longer period of time than if you'd just been careful to begin with. Touch wood, I've not been injured as yet. I would actually say that's because of my cautious approach. But the more you can enjoy what you're doing, the better success I think you'll have with it all. And if you truly don't like weightlifting, then honestly, experiment with other forms of exercise and fitness. Although resistance training is important in my opinion, I don't think you have to typically go and lift weights and be all macho or powerlift or anything like that. There's a lot of bodyweight stuff you can do, and there's a lot of resources out there now as well. So yes, I hope this has been helpful. The rest of today, well, I made a little list. So next up, I'm going to get some steps in. And while I'm doing my steps, I'll edit this video. Then later on I need to cook some chicken, revise paper 2 psychology, and get an early night because I'm knackered. Your engagement with the series so far has been absolutely incredible, and I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching and taking an interest in what I do.